I'm David Braun. I'm a medical oncologist specializing in the care of patients with kidney cancer at the Yale Cancer Center. And I'm an assistant professor of medicine and the Goodman and Gilman Yale Scholar. My research area is really on the immunobiology of kidney cancer, trying to understand what drives the disease and ultimately how we treat it. So I was incredibly grateful to receive the grant in 2022, really to help support research in an area of unmet clinical and scientific need, and that's really looking deeply at chromophobe kidney cancer. So we know that kidney cancer comes in many flavors, many varieties, the most common being clear cells, 75% or so of kidney cancers, but there's a whole host of so-called non-clear cells, including chromophobe, that each occur at a less common frequency. So chromophobe might be 5% of kidney cancers, but they have really different biologies. And really, we don't understand what drives the disease and often how to treat it. And so really this project and the grant that enabled it was really looking at the biology of chromophobe kidney cancer, trying to understand using a lot of new single-cell approaches, where do these chromophobe tumors and sort of related oncocytic neoplasms, where do they come from? What's their cell of origin within the kidney? Are there certain things we can learn from that might drive their oncogenesis, their cancer behavior? And I think really critically, the question is, why do these tumors in general not respond nearly as well to immunotherapies in the same way things like clear cell might respond? This has been a really challenging need in the clinic and something we just really haven't understood well as a community. And so the grant really enabled a deep investigation into those areas. Absolutely. I think really the project has progressed very nicely, again, very much enabled by the grant support from the KCA. And I think there's a lot of domains, but I think the part I'm sort of most excited about next steps is really understanding the immune biology of these chromophobe tumors. The question again being, why do these not respond as well to immune therapy as other clear cell tumors? And we sort of thought in three different big areas. So what needs to happen for the immune system to be able to respond to and attack and hopefully effectively clear a cancer? Well, you need the immune cells there, you need the T cells there. And the first thing we found is there's many fewer T cells in chromophobe than in other types of kidney cancer, like clear cell. The second is they don't just have to be there, they have to be the right type, meaning they have to be a type that's going to actually respond to the therapies we have, like anti-PD-1 therapy. And we found that the T cells that were there, not only were they low in number, but they actually didn't express markers like PD-1. And so we wouldn't expect them necessarily to respond in the same way to those therapies. And the last thing is, our immune system is exquisitely specific. It knows how to differentiate a virus from a bacteria, from self. And so it really knows whether it's a kidney cancer, a chromophobe kidney cancer or not. And so the question was, are those T cells that are there, they're not the right type, but are they even capable of recognizing the chromophobe tumor, or are they just, for lack of a better term, bystanders? They recognize some viruses we were exposed to years ago, but they have nothing to do with chromophobe. And again, using a lot of immune genomic approaches, single-cell RNA sequencing and TCR sequencing, it really looks like these are bystander T cells. They're not really capable of recognizing the tumor itself. And so I think in all of these three domains that are required for an effective immune response, we see chromophobe really has a deficiency in those three areas. But I think that also provides a little bit of hope, because I think if we understand that, that means we kind of know what we might have to do to really improve those therapies, that we have to get T cells into the microenvironment, we have to get the right type there, and we have to get the right specificity. And if we know that, that might enable us to sort of more rationally think about how to design future therapies for this disease. So I think chromophobe really still represents a very wide spectrum of disease. It's not just one entity. And so people with earlier stage kidney cancers who have chromophobe, a lot of those patients do incredibly well. The prognosis might be excellent for someone with a stage 1 or 2, or even in many cases a stage 3 chromophobe. And so I think there's lots and lots of reasons to be hopeful. I think within the metastatic setting, the advanced stage, where chromophobe kidney cancer has spread, I think there are still definitely challenges. And I think we have to acknowledge that we have medicines that have effect. It's not that there's nothing in the therapeutic armamentarium, but there needs to be more work done. I think the part of hope, and I really truly believe this, is that there's more and more research being done. Certainly by our group, but by many others. Dr. Hensky at the Brigham, Dr. Hakimi and many others at Sloan Kettering. And what's really nice to see is the community is starting to come together. So it's not just that there are pockets of individual research in chromophobe, but there's really attempts to speak to one another, say how can we build off of each other's research, try to build together bigger data sets, and try to work together to tackle this disease. I think really the KCA has been instrumental in really a number of domains. So one is very tangibly, by supporting efforts like this, these sort of, really seed money for exploring higher risk projects that have the potential to be really impactful, it funds areas of research that we might not otherwise be able to pursue. And I know that's true for many others as well. So there's a really sort of tangible element of support that the KCA provides. I think there's an element of knowledge as well. All I do in my life is kidney cancer. Clinically, in the lab, we really focus on kidney cancer, yet every time I come to the KCA meeting, I learn a huge amount new. I learn from surgeons. I learn from sessions on complementary and alternative medicine. I learn from interventional radiologists and laboratory-based scientists. So I think this idea of bringing everyone together under one roof really helps me to continue to learn, and I know that's true as well for many others. And probably the last domain I see is really building a community. Clinicians, patients, scientists, advocates, everyone in between, and really getting to know each other, learning what are the important questions, what are the areas we should be pursuing, what are other people doing, and how we can work together. I think that has been really an important element for our lab as well. It's really helped us to build a network that I think allows us to do work we really wouldn't be able to do otherwise. I would say for people who are just at the earlier stages of their career, just starting off, really it's worthwhile to put in the time and effort to become involved with groups like the KCA. I think it pays such dividends on a personal level, on a professional level. And on a professional level, there's all these things that I've sort of talked about. There's grant mechanisms that really help to support research. There's learning and educational opportunities. There's really building a professional network. But I think on a personal level, it's also just been tremendously gratifying. I feel like I come to these meetings and I sort of walk into the room and I feel like I'm among family. I feel like I see person after person that, we email a lot back and forth now, but seeing them in person, it's really an absolute joy. And being part of that community with, again, researchers, clinicians, patients, advocates, that's something that's just incredibly rewarding. And so I would say, it's worth that effort to become involved because it really pays enormous dividends. I think that my true hope and belief is that we're really at an inflection point with kidney cancer. We've seen incredible developments over the last 5 to 10 years. The whole landscape of how we treat particularly advanced kidney cancer, but even locally advanced, has dramatically changed. And I think that inflection point means that we potentially have that ability to keep rising, but it's not a certainty, it's not written in stone. And so to do that, I think we really need to continue the things that have enabled that success. Really pushing and advocating for funding mechanisms, really working on continuing to build that community and that larger network that's going to allow us to collaborate with one another, do big team science that's going to enable the next generation, the generation after that of therapies.